Let's go here. Trump admin vows that all options are on the table with Iran. And they just made a move to launch some airstrikes, which I found to be very, very interesting. And I think it just goes to show that whether you like it or not, Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out on a global relations scale. But let's start here.
Against the Houthis in Yemen after they resumed Red Sea shipping attacks. The president had a very firm message for Iran. Listen.
There's no way the Houthis, the Houthis would have the ability to do this kind of thing unless they had support from Iran. And so this was a message to Iran. Don't keep supporting them, because then you will also be responsible for what they are doing in attacking Navy ships, in attacking global shipping.
Now, the Ayatollah rejected the president's offer for talks over their nuclear program, but the White House is still pushing to resume that conversation as Israel continues to push for a joint U.S.-Israel operation on.
So real quick, the Ayatollah, Iran declined to have talks with the United States about their nuclear program. Essentially, Iran is building, they don't have a nuclear capability right now, but they've been working on it, and they're getting closer and closer and closer and closer, right? And, you know, the thought process here is that, you know, if Iran gets a nuke, they finna use it. They're not gonna sit on it. They finna use it, right? And the U.S. is like, yo, we can't have that. Let's try to, you know, peacefully work this out. Iran said, ain't no peace, bruh. We gonna do what we wanna do. Trump said, I bet. We could do it one of two ways. We could do it the peaceful way, or we could just run up in there and start blowing stuff down. What do you want to do? And now it looks like Trump started to blow stuff down. On top of that, you have Israel. They are waiting to get involved. They want to work on some sort of joint thing with the U.S. to where we both go up in there and just start blowing stuff down. All right. So that's the dumbed down explanation of what's happening. But let's continue.
On Iran's nuclear facilities, guys.
Wow. Thanks, Jackie.
We're sitting on 4 years of deferred maintenance from Joe Biden, where in particular, when you talk about the Houthis, they were allowed for over 100 times to shoot at U.S. ships, to shoot at commercial shipping. 4 months ago, when we sent a ship through, it was shot at 17 times. To the Houthis, this isn't a one-night thing. This will continue until you say, we're done shooting at ships, we're done shooting at assets.
There was the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, talking with Marie on Sunday morning. Come on over here. We'll show you what's happening in Yemen. Here's the Red Sea over here. Shipping traffic there has been hindered for some time now. Gulf of Aden down here to the south, all right? The strikes hit numerous towns throughout the country of Yemen, primarily in the western edge, southwestern edge. Sana'a is the capital city that was hit. In Sada, this one up here near the Saudi borders, apparently where a lot of the leadership of the Houthi rebels live today. So this is one distinction that they have from these strikes. You know, during the Biden years, they didn't go after the leadership. But under Trump this past weekend, that was one of their targets. How well they did, we do not know. We'll wait for a better readout on that. Hard to get. Yemen is one of the poorest countries in the world. Hard to get a readout what's happening there on the ground. Since November 2023 now, these are the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, right? 250 plus. Going back to October of 2023, these are the Houthi attacks on U.S. forces, 180 attacks. We've had the U.S. Navy out there for some time, and they've had a tough job. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, now a Fox News contributor. And, sir, thank you for coming on today, and good morning to you. Guys, let's show them the map here. This is what happens when you don't have freedom of navigation. You have to go around the southern coast.
Okay, so this is all taking place in and around the Red Sea, which is also very interesting. I want to go to a report from CBN on the same topic here. I like their perspective as well. Let's go to CBN.
U.S. warplanes pounded Houthi rebel targets in Yemen over the week. In the Middle East, U.S. warplanes pounded Houthi rebel targets in Yemen over the weekend. The Trump administration also warned Iran to stop funding their proxy army or suffer consequences. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more.
Dozens of U.S. airstrikes and missile strikes on Houthi targets over the weekend in Yemen left at least 50 people dead, the rebels claim. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says Houthi leaders are among the dead.
This was an overwhelming response that actually targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out.
The attacks came after the Houthis warned they're about to start hitting ships in the Red Sea and other nearby waters again. Since the start of the war in Gaza, the Houthis have disrupted global shipping and cost billions of dollars with attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. They've also targeted U.S. warships. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Fox News.
4 months ago, when we sent a ship through, it was shot at 17 times. Ships haven't been able to go through for over a year without being shot at. Freedom of navigation is basic. It's a core national interest.
On Truth Social, President Trump declared, "No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world." Trump also warned Iran to stop backing the Houthis, writing, "Beware, because America will hold you fully accountable, and we won't be nice about it." U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says America is doing the world a favor.
What we can't ignore, and the reason why the president mentioned Iran, is because the Iranians have supported the Houthis. They've provided them intelligence, they've provided them guidance, they've provided them weaponry.
The Iranians are defiant, claiming the U.S. and its allies are panicking in the face of Muslim nations standing together. The Houthis warned they will retaliate and claim to launch drone and ballistic missile attacks against a U.S. carrier in the region. But the Navy denies the attack and said they did not come near any U.S. ships. As for the war in Gaza,
What did Covenant say? Covenant said, Trump ain't the best example of a Christian, but we got to pray for him. We got to pray for everybody. We got to pray for everybody. We got to pray for everybody. I agree. We got to pray for him. He's not the best example of a Christian. And that's why I said, man, I wish he had some people, some real ones from a faith standpoint. And who knows? I don't know who he got around him personally, but the people that he's publicly chose to align with, sketchy. Sketchy. And I'm just assuming if you're choosing to publicly align with these individuals that we talked about, if you're choosing to publicly align with these individuals that we talked about, you know, one individual in question, then I could only imagine privately who you potentially are choosing to align with from a faith standpoint. And that's why it's like, yeah, that's a very great comment. Is, yeah, we got to pray for him. We do got to pray for him. But you know, you seeing all this stuff going on, right? You seeing what I'm seeing. Iran talking about, oh, the U.S. is just mad and they're making a big deal because, you know, these Muslim countries are choosing to align together. It's getting dicey.
President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, laid out a proposal for Hamas to free up to 11 more hostages in exchange for more Palestinian prisoners. But Hamas's reply has been rejected by both Israel and the U.S.
I'm not going to go into the specific details of what made it unacceptable. I think there's an opportunity for them, but the opportunity is closing fast.
Witkoff said of the terror group stalling, Hamas is making a very bad bet that time.
So that's where we're at. You know, I said this in my last video. Jesus talking about, you know, war. There's going to be rumors of war. There's going to be rumors of stuff like that. But then what did he say? He said, fear not. He said, "Fear not, for this is just the beginning of birth pangs." This is just the beginning. But hold on to that, what he said. Hold on to that word where he said, "Fear not." Fear not. I don't think we should be fearful. I absolutely think we should be prayerful. Not trying to be, Dr. Seuss, but that's just what it is. That's it, because we kind of already know what's gonna, well, not kind of. We already know what's finna go down. We already know what's gonna happen. We already know what's up. And now we're seeing things play out, and we're seeing some of the things that, Jesus was talking about. And remember what he said. Fear not. This ain't the end yet. This is just the beginning of birth pangs. So you better make sure that you stay prayed up. And listen, keep the full armor of God on. What is that verse? What is that verse? What is that verse? 1 Thessalonians. Let me see if I can find it. 1 Thessalonians 5. Let me read this real quick, and then we'll get to the super chats. 1 Thessalonians 5. Okay, I think it's this one right here. I think it's this one. 1 Thessalonians 5. I know the screen is bright. I apologize. 1 Thessalonians 5. The day of the Lord. Verse 1. Now concerning the times and the seasons, brothers, you have no need to have anything written to you. For you yourselves are fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. While people are saying there is peace and security, then suddenly destruction will come upon them as labor pains come upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. But you are not in darkness, brothers, for that day to surprise you like a thief. But you are not in darkness, brothers, for that day to surprise you like a thief. This is why I'm saying, fear not, but at the same time, don't completely ignore what's going on. But at the same time, don't obsess over what's going on. Verse 4. But you are not in the darkness, brothers, for that day to surprise you like a thief. For you are all children of light, children of the day. We are not of the night or of the darkness. So then, let us not sleep as others do, but let us keep awake and be sober. Be sober. Stay awake. Don't be like the other people, getting lulled to sleep. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But since we belong to the day, let us be sober, having put on the breastplate of faith and love. The breastplate of faith and love. The helmet for a hope of salvation. For God has not destined us for wrath, but to obtain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us, so that whether we are awake or asleep, we might live with him. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. Somebody said Trump's an OG. Hold on, who said that? I think Trump is really standing on business. I think he is. But let's make sure that we standing on, kingdom business. You know what I'm saying? All right.